Hey guys, JD here, coming to you from the Ministry Center, and I want to just take a few moments to kind of introduce you to the new series that we're going to be starting this coming Sunday here at GNG. So there's a phrase that we use in our culture. Sometimes we use it around like sporting events, when a player does something that's unexpected that totally changes the way the game goes. Or sometimes we use it in terms of maybe a political figure, when they don't vote along with their party, but rather vote with the other one. Sometimes we use this phrase when there's a plot twist in a movie that we didn't see coming. So in these kinds of circumstances, and in many others, we use a phrase that goes like this. We say, that person flipped the script. They did something unexpected, and they changed the course of events by doing what they normally wouldn't. The situation changes because something different and unexpected happens. And as we have worked our way through the Gospel of Matthew, we have seen Jesus do this on a number of occasions already. We have seen a Sermon on the Mount so far, and we're only 16 verses in. You see, after all, most people don't see the blessed people or the happy people as the people who are poor in spirit, or the mourning, or the meek, or the hungering and thirsting for righteousness. We don't see the blessed or happy people as the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemaking, and we definitely don't see blessed people being persecuted. But Jesus says that they are. You see, he flips the script on what it means to be a person who is one of the king's people, one of the blessed people, one of the happy people. And his perspective turns things upside down and challenges the status quo. But if you thought that Jesus was done flipping the script with the Beatitudes, you are sorely mistaken. In fact, I would say you haven't seen anything yet, because as upside down and backwards as the Beatitudes seemed to us, and as they seem to the world, they're just the beginning of what Jesus does in this next section of the Sermon on the Mount. And so this coming Sunday, September 24th, we're launching into a brand new lesson series entitled, The King Flips the Script. And in this series, we'll be learning the ways that Jesus radically challenges and overturns the idea of what it means to be a moral or godly person in his culture, and how he challenged people to rightly re-examine and understand their relationship with God's law. And we'll do this by examining Jesus' comments in verses 17 through 48 of Matthew chapter 5. And the result of this series is going to be that it will challenge every single one of us today, just like he challenged those people on the hillside 2,000 years ago, to be the kind of people who live the moral and godly life that God has commanded us to live. And for that to happen, he has to flip the script on our understanding of what it even means to be a moral and godly person. So join us over the next 7 weeks as Jesus walks us through what it means to be a moral person in great detail. But let me give you a little rundown on where we're going and what we will see over each of the next 7 weeks. So in week 1, in a lesson entitled Raised Bar or Flipped Script, we will examine how Jesus made it clear that he was not doing away with God's law as found in the Old Testament, but rather he was fulfilling it. You see, one of the common interpretations of this portion of the Sermon on the Mount is that Jesus is raising the bar of morality, or that he is taking the old standard of morality in the Old Testament and as defined by the Old Testament law, and he's improving on it, or he's changing it, he's raising it up. But is that really what he's doing? Is he changing the Old Testament law and getting rid of it? Or is he changing how we think about it? The question is he raising the bar, or is he flipping our script? That's the question we're going to address in week 1. So join us on that Sunday to find out more. In week 2, in a lesson entitled Greatness Flipped, Jesus radically overturns what would have been the common definition of what a righteous or godly person was or looks like in the world. In fact, he's going to come at it from the standpoint of, if you thought that was greatness, let me tell you what greatness really is. He attacks the long-held belief that the most righteous are those who best follow the rules. But does he do that by getting rid of the rules? Or does he do that by telling us that our definition of what it means to be great has always been wrong? Join us to find out. In week 3, in a lesson entitled Conflict Flipped, Jesus will teach his disciples that a godly kind of anger is a lot harder to achieve than simply not murdering people. He points to the fact that there is a motive and a spirit behind the Old Testament law, you shall not murder, that must be met in order to rightly say that one has obeyed that law. Join us on that Sunday as Jesus flips the script on what it means to handle conflict like Jesus taught us to handle conflict. In week 4, in a lesson entitled Faithfulness Flipped, we will see that Jesus takes a much different view on what it means to be faithful to one's spouse, a different view than almost everyone in the world holds. And the implications of this teaching will impact how we handle our sexual desires, our eyes, our mind, and our marriages. So join us as we see Jesus flip the script in an extreme way on what it means to be a faithful spouse. In week 5, we're doing a lesson called Promises Flipped. Now, in Jesus' day, most people thought that you were a good person if you simply followed through on what you said you would do. Not much has changed because we still feel like that. If you keep your promises, we generally kind of think that you're a good person. But in the text that we will be studying on that Sunday, Jesus makes it clear that you would actually be better off or more moral if you became the kind of person who doesn't even have to make promises or doesn't even have to swear an oath, because everyone knows that you will always do what you say. He challenges us to have a right understanding of how to keep our word. So join us to discover what it means to be a godly promise keeper. In week 6, we're doing a lesson entitled Reactions Flipped. Now, what's interesting is that the desire for revenge is a typical human reaction when somebody hurts us. But Jesus will challenge us to be the kind of people who don't retaliate. He flips the script on what a right reaction looks like when we get harmed. So join us to figure out what Jesus has to say about taking an eye for an eye. And finally, in week 7, in a lesson entitled Love Flipped, we will see Jesus flip the script on who we are called to love. Now, all of us naturally love those who love us, but Jesus isn't content for his followers to stop there. So join us as he flips the script on who we are called to love and how we are called to love them. Now, guys, I'm really excited about this series, but I'm not going to lie. It is going to challenge us. You see, even though so much has changed in our world over the last 2,000 years, not much has actually changed. We still view the world in many cases exactly the way those Jewish people sitting on the Galilean hillside did. Many of us still carry the same wrong ideas that Jesus was addressing in the Sermon on the Mount 2,000 years ago. So our goal with this series is to let Jesus flip our script as well, and to make sure that our script, our mind, our thinking, our beliefs align with his. I trust that as we hear him speak to us in these words, our lives and our hearts will be turned upside down in the very best possible way. So join us this coming Sunday as we continue in our study of the Gospel of Matthew, and let's all commit to learning from Jesus' script. Guys, I will see you on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to it. Love you. Bye.